McLaren Honda. The signs were there last year that the era of McLaren dominance was coming to an end, but Williams' reliability troubles staved off disaster. Now with the competition stiffer, the team's fortunes are looking very shaky. The car seems to lack grip, and the Honda V12 is down on power compared to last year's model, and there are troubling rumours that both Senna and Honda are looking for a way out. Ron Dennis and co will have a lot of work to do to convince everyone that McLaren can be contenders into 1993. Tyrrell Ilmore. As ever for teams struggling on a low budget, reliability has been the problem for Uncle Ken. When the car's running, De Cesaris has been putting in some decent drives and has scored points twice on merit. On the other hand, Olivier Gouillard has made himself very unpopular in the paddock with his obstinacy when being lapped. The boss loyally insists that he himself has told Olivier to just drive his own race and ignore what's going on behind him, but Ken's been round the block enough that seems unlikely. Williams Renault. After a disappointing 1991, when the car was clearly fastest but couldn't finish often enough, 1992 has been almost a coronation for Mansell and Williams Renault. They are dominant like few teams before them, and the only question seems to be how soon Nigel will have it all sewn up. That has made things a bit boring for the viewer, of course, but as Ron Dennis has said back in 1988, it's not his job to slow down and let the others catch up. The only real cloud on the horizon is the ongoing rumour mill about who will be driving next year, with Prost, Senna and Mansell all apparently wanting to but not willing to accept either of the other two. Brabham Judd. The grand old Brabham name was never quite the same after the departures of Nelson Piquet and Gordon Murray, and there's always been a sense about it of a zombie team since its comeback in 1989, despite the continuity of the Cobra logo and the blue and white colours. Now those colours are gone too, and the team is just a pale shadow of what it once was. Just one qualification all year at the very first race, and both Giovanna Amati and Damon Hill in the second cars have been slowest of all most of the time. With the financial and ownership situation, the question is not whether the team can ever get back to their former glory, but whether they'll even survive the season. Footwork Mugen Honda. Well, it's certainly a big improvement on the first half of 1991, with that awful Porsche V12, and Michele Alboreto looks rejuvenated too. He'll be frustrated with 3 7th places on the trot, but 3 points positions are not too shabby. Aguri Suzuki does seem to be struggling more, has freely admitted he doesn't really understand the car, whatever precisely that means, and has failed to qualify twice. Hopefully for him and the team, he'll get the hang of it and improve in the back straight. Lotus Ford. Another great turnaround with the new Lotus 107 looking good in the hands of its two talented drivers. It may be still early to talk about wins again, but on current form a podium or two before the end of the year looks a distinct possibility, and in either case with a bit more sponsorship and keeping key personnel in place, the team can lay the groundwork for further progress into 1993. Fondmetal Ford. The underfunded Italian team introduced their new car, the GR02, in Canada, and although it's early days yet, it looks promising. Tarquini set the 5th fastest lap in Montreal, though neither driver went further than 6 laps in France. Fondmetal and before them Ozella have spent their entire existence yearning for the security of midfield, and the GR02 might get them there yet. Tarquini is known to usually get the most out of his usually meagre equipment, and while Andrea Chiesa hasn't set the world alight, he's not done badly at all considering. March Ilmore. Driving last year's car, almost devoid of sponsorship, Carl Wendlinger has been driving his socks off to little avail, and his 4th place in Canada was a just, if scant, reward for his and the team's fine efforts. With the team focused on Wendlinger, Belmondo is seen as another slow pay driver with a lacklustre junior career, but he'll be getting the short end of the resource stick from the team, and to be fair to him, he's brought the car home every time he's started, evidently having at least the nous to keep out of trouble. Benetton Ford. Looking really good so far, the Works Ford team and their distinctive shark-nosed car, with Schumacher finishing on the podium every time he's finished. You wouldn't put a win past the young German even if he hasn't done a full year of F1 yet. Martin Brundle had a nightmare start to the season but has definitely come good and shown he's not just there as a backup and mentor, but very willing to give Schumacher a race. With little in the way of driver aids like semi-automatic gearboxes or traction control and a relatively small V8 engine, the team are definitely punching above their weight to be lying second in the table. BMS Scuderia Italia Dallara Ferrari. Despite Martini's brace of points finishes, things are not going well for the other red Italian team. The F192 doesn't handle well, and the design with the raised nose and deep end plates just isn't quite working. Still, it's usually reasonably reliable, and Leto has had a string of top 10 finishes. If they can tweak the aerodynamics a bit and find some speed, it could still come good. Minardi Lamborghini. Reliability has been Minardi's Achilles heel this year, with just one finish for the old car in the first 4 races, though the new car is a little more solid. It just isn't very fast, even though it's been specially designed around the Lamborghini engine. That power plant is starting to show its age now, and was always on the bad end of the power-to-weight graph, and the inexperienced driver lineup may not be helping either, though neither driver has shown any particular weakness. Fittipaldi's injuries from his practice crash in France mean that the team will need to get someone else in for at least the British Grand Prix, so we'll wait and see who gets the nod. Ligier Renault. To say that Ligier have a lavish budget, allegedly the 5th biggest in the paddock, and engine parity with the all-conquering Williamses, Guy Ligier will have to be disappointed with the way things are going so far. The JS37 just isn't working, it's unreliable and it lacks grip, and to make things worse, his drivers have fallen out with each other and some of the team's key staff, and he's been fighting off a hostile takeover bid to boot. It takes a lot to hack off the genial and laid-back Thierry Boutsen, but a year and a half at Ligier seems to have managed it, while Eric Comas has largely kept his head down in public at least. Ferrari. From bad to worse so far at Ferrari, as the revolutionary F92A chassis has turned out to be a nightmare, which in turn has led to the usual round of factionalism and media pressure. Jean Alesi has driven the wheels off the thing to a couple of third places, which has of course only increased the pressure on poor Ivan Capelli, who is having a shocker of a season, just one finish in 8 races, with several retirements from unforced errors. Life at Ferrari is very different from the chummy little March team, and it's a tricky move to make at the best of times, but when Ferrari aren't winning, the pressure for results now is all-consuming. It's not really his fault, but Capelli needs some good results in the second half of the season. Venturi Larrousse Lamborghini. The Larrousse team nearly went under during 1991, but a buyout by sports car firm Venturi has led to the team producing its first in-house chassis powered by an engine they know well. It's been an encouraging rather than a spectacular start, with Gasho scoring a precious point in Monaco, while the diminutive Katayama has acquitted himself decently enough in his debut season, but clearly struggled to get the best out of the car. Jordan Yamaha. Difficult second season is a sporting cliché for a reason. Eddie's boys had a great debut season last year, but now it's time to pay off all those debts, and those free Yamaha engines have been a real millstone, just as they were for Zakspeed and Brabham before. The drivers have also been disappointing too, with Stefano Modena looking increasingly depressed and Maurizio Gugelmin failing to even qualify twice and gaining a reputation for being a difficult-to-work-with political animal. Eddie will have to have a rethink looking forward for 1993, as he just hopes he can salvage something out of this year. Andrea Moda Judd. Well, it's been a colourful introduction to F1 for the boys in black, and it's difficult to know what to make of them. Obviously they're spectacularly off the pace, but out of 8 races so far they've only had both cars running in 3 of them. Each individual incident could have happened to most teams, but the fact that they've all happened to Sassetti's team suggests either that they're just catastrophically unlucky, or that there's more going on behind the scenes. Sassetti himself seems to belong to that long history of slightly shady big personality team principals like Gunter Schmidt or Flavio Briatore, and his treatment of Perry McCarthy has been rather shabby, but the jury is still out on whether he's a colourful character or an actual problem.